If there's nothing else, we'll proceed with the sentencing recommendations. So, Mr. Lizay.
Your Honor, I believe there are representatives of the crime victim's family who do wish to be heard here today. I would ask that they present.
Very good. They want to come forward. Actually, if they can sit over by the, at the end of that table right there where there's a microphone.
Just talk into the microphone.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Randall's mother. But what more can I say that hasn't already been said to the other two? No more words are going to bring Randall back. Not one man, not one of you are man enough to say he did it or I did it, but yet my son is dead. I believe in my heart and mind that Randall was getting the best of you and your cousins, and that's why you took his life, because you couldn't take him. And like I said, rather than telling the truth, my son had to die. With all the witnesses that took the stand, not one of you told the truth. You're willing to put needles in your arm every day, but not face or tell the truth about what happened. I can sit here all day, talk about untruths and drugs, but none of that will bring Randall back. You could have maybe tried to save his life, but you were worried about a warrant you had out on you. So because of that, my son died, so you wouldn't have to go to jail that day. But here we are years later, and you're sitting in jail. And I'm missing a huge part of my life. You may not know or thought that nobody loved Randall, but we did. He had a mother, a sister, a big brother, a couple younger brothers, aunts, uncles, and let's not forget his children, and now a granddaughter. My life has never been the same since he was killed. You may not have the same convictions as your cousins, but you did commit the same crime and you do have the same blame. I feel you should get just as many years as they did. Every day I wake up and every night I go to bed, I have Randall on my mind. And that's a pain no mother should go through, not even yours. My life will never be the same again because you took someone from me you didn't have the right to. And all I want to know was it all worth it? That's it.
Jacob, we are here today because of choices in the company you keep. We know you lied on the stand to save your own life, even though that night, early April morning, when you said you had a warrant, you was trying to save yourself and come help family members And you came and helped family members get drugs and stuff. Mind you, what did you get out of it? A bag of dope. Laugh out loud. Better yet, nothing. Because look where you are at, in prison. Ever since you got here, you've been trying to get out. For what? Rush to get back to the world? To do more drugs? To commit more crimes? With your family members or friends? Randall was a human being. I see these drugs are so strong, it breaks up families, even kills people for drugs. It ruins lives and homes. I hope you are sitting there and thinking about what you could change. Guess what? Guess what? Nothing. My brother is dead and you're still in prison. I will never be able to hug him and talk to him again because you have a warrant. I wish you would have got that same time. I wish you would have got the same time as your cousins because you see my brother get shot. I feel it. You was a witness to the scene, but yet you came to be a witness for my brother to say what you see, but yet lied to cover your own ass. My brother was beating your ass, and some reason you guys came out and got involved with a gun. Somebody pulled the trigger that night of April early morning. My brother was killed because of drugs. I don't know how you hang out with your cuz, because I know if my cousin picked me up to do a murder, I would have had to call the police anonymously. My brother had people who loved him, like his kids, his parents, and his siblings and family members. He had values in life. You took them from him and his family. We've been here 3 times to get justice for my brother, which is never going to be enough. All I have to say is he's gone and you're still here, having a second chance at life. I see today that you have loved ones who showed you some type of love. What type of person you are, I think, is a cold-hearted person. You were thinking about yourself that night. It hurts to keep writing about my brother and my feelings for a person who thinks about themselves. I'm glad this is the last time I'm doing this. I'm getting justice for my brother. We could have been done this a long time ago, but here we are today, 4 years later. I want you to remember that day you took my brother's life, that you still have a name on your back. You will always be a killer. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else, Mr. Lezay?
So is the crime victim's brother in I can't see the top right on the Zoom.
That's the Wisconsin DOC.
It doesn't look like anyone's in the room.
It doesn't look like anybody's there.
Okay. All right. Wilson. Your Honor, the state in this particular case is not making a specific recommendation. The court has before it the 2 charges. They're both Class G felony offenses. The court is, I think, in a unique position to evaluate this case, having heard the trial, having heard the sentencing hearings from the others. The court is aware of the facts and circumstances that apply to Mr. Ventura. The court is well aware of why we are here. What I would like to address is just some of the sentencing factors generally, both the aggravating and mitigating factors that are presented to the court here today. Jacob Ventura is here to be sentenced on 2 different felonies, felon in possession of a firearm and harboring or aiding a felon. As it relates to those 2 particular offenses, I think this clearly is a far more aggravated circumstance than we see typically when we have those 2 charges that are before the court. First of all, with respect to the harboring or aiding a felon, we have an individual who essentially was a witness was present at the scene of a homicide. That charge, as it relates, could be for an A, B, C, or D felony. This involved ultimately what was approximately a Class B felony that was present. Mr. Ventura was there and witnessed it and directly got rid of evidence of this crime, the murder weapon. He possessed that in his hand and got rid of that. Clearly, as it relates to assisting or aiding a felon, it really doesn't get more aggravated or serious in terms of your assistance than to take the murder weapon in your hand and dispose of it in a way that it was frankly never recovered. And similarly, with respect to felon in possession of a firearm, this is far more on the aggravated side of the spectrum. We see cases where someone's got a 20-year-old felony for 5 OWIs, and they have a shotgun in their house that they use to hunt or something like that. Clearly, that's a violation of the law, but it's not aggravated in the nature of possessing a firearm that's used in a violent offense. So clearly, it's more on the aggravated side. In addition, the aggravating factors are looking at Mr. Ventura's prior criminal history. He has a substantial prior criminal record that's outlined in detail in the PSI. I would indicate that the majority of that is non-violent, though. So, I mean, that does mitigate a little bit. He does have some battery offenses, possession of an electronic weapon. He's got some burglary offenses, which are not always non-violent in nature, but much of it is related to substance abuse, nuisance-related offenses, and things of that nature. So clearly that should be acknowledged as well. But it is a substantial record nonetheless, and obviously the court has to take that into consideration. With respect to some of the mitigating factors, Mr. Ventura did come forward and cooperated in this case. He obviously deserves credit for that. I think clearly the reduction in charges relates to that. Clearly, he has been given some credit for that already, that the state has acknowledged his participation and assistance, and the charges were greatly reduced. And he did come forward and testify. That is not an insignificant thing for him to have done, particularly when he's testifying against family members. So clearly, that is a mitigating factor that the court is to consider. I would note, however, that didn't happen until substantially after this offense took place, right? And ultimately, he assisted in this offense and assisted in covering up this offense, went on the run, did not say anything to law enforcement for a significant period of time before finally making a statement and testifying. So while it mitigates that he cooperated, I think the court has to consider the context in which that happened as well, and I think it limits the amount of mitigation that it has when he waited as long as he did and did not, really provide this family with the answers and this community with the answers that it deserved. So I think when the court has to balance all of those things, we're looking at all of the factors that really play into the seriousness of the offense. So the first factor that the court's to consider, and when the court considers the character of the offender and the need to protect the public. Again, I think those things are very intertwined with what Mr. Ventura's prior criminal history is. He is someone who clearly has need of services. He's had long-term substance abuse. He's had a significant amount of trauma in his life. He has mental health history that needs to be addressed. So all of those things are factors that the court needs to consider with respect to his character and whether he presents a risk to the public. And I think, again, some of those things cut both ways. Obviously, the fact that he has a mental health history and a substance abuse issue provides some explanation for his record, but it does also suggest that as he currently sits here before the court, there are significant safety risks with releasing him back to the community in the present form. I do want to alert the court, Mr. Ventura, and I think this is outlined in Attorney Lee's sentencing letter for the court. Mr. Ventura was serving a sentence for a significant amount of time while he was on bond in this case. That sentence is done, so there isn't a sentence that the court can run this either concurrent or consecutive to. He has fully completed his sentence and is sitting on bond at this point. So, knowing that, I think that he's not entitled to the significant amount of credit that he has. I believe he is entitled to the 153 days that Attorney Lee has set forth here because he's been in custody for a period of time after completing his sentence, and then there is a period of time prior to his revocation, where he was in custody on bond on this case, and he should be entitled to credit to that. So I think that's outlined in her letter, and I would agree with the 153 days as credit, Your Honor. And again, I don't think there's anything for the court to run this concurrent or consecutive to here. So thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lee.
Thank you, Your Honor. As was noted, Mr. Ventura has about 896 days that he has spent in custody in connection to this offense, and so that includes the revocation. And as I outlined in my letter, Your Honor, a significant portion of that time was spent at Waupun Correctional Institution. I'm not going to go into the details of how challenging of a time that was for Mr. Ventura, but it's outlined in my sentencing letter, and I think that that is a factor for the court to take into consideration as the court fashions a sentence that is individualized and appropriate for Mr. Ventura. I don't think that there is really any court that could sentence a person to solitary confinement for as long as Mr. Ventura had to involuntarily endure it. I will say that when I had the opportunities to visit Mr. Ventura at Waupun, he always remained resilient. He always was positive, always has treated me with respect and has been appropriate. It's often, Mr. Ventura is a respectful individual in working with him these past couple years. Your Honor, as the court well knows, the factors to take into consideration are set out by State v. Gallion, and Your Honor has before you with the DOC PSI as well as the defense PSI reports the history of Mr. Ventura and who he is as a person, his character, his family, and the traumas that he has had to endure in his life. And certainly Mr. Ventura acknowledges that he has not made a lot of good decisions in his life. And most of the decisions that he has made stems from the drug use and abuse that he has decided to do throughout his life. I have children, and I think about a 9-year-old who is getting involved in drugs and the things that he did at that young age, and just changing the mind of who he could have become if he was surrounded by people who could have directed him in a different way and raised him to be able to not do those things and be able to focus on the strengths that he has, which he has. If I could say that Mr. Ventura has some gifts, I would say that he is an orator, that he is well-spoken, that he probably would do well in sales. I know that he has a desire to get into an apprenticeship and be able to grow some skills and be able to provide for his daughters. I do want to acknowledge that Mr. Ventura has family in the gallery. His daughters are here. His mother is appearing via Zoom, and I believe he has some aunts and other individuals who are here to support him as well. In terms of whether Mr. Ventura is a danger to society, although I do acknowledge that he has an extensive criminal record, I will say 29 convictions. I've counted them. I've gone through each one of them. He does not have a violent history of convictions. He has a battery from 2004, and then a couple of the burglaries, which I don't believe have allegations of violence. Almost all of his convictions are drug-related. So what we see here is, I believe, an individual who really needs some serious drug treatment, inpatient treatment, in a way that he would have to make the decision to commit to and be able to prioritize so that his life can be changed around. his daughters have already lost enough, and I know that he is extremely remorseful for his actions in this case. What I do want to distinguish for the court is that Mr. Ventura, he certainly did come forward, and yes, it was at a later time. It was not right after the offense. It was in a difficult position. I mean, he was already addicted to drugs himself and made some poor choices with that, and then these are his cousins who he grew up with as children. So for Mr. Ventura, this was a difficult but the right decision for him to come forward and to do ultimately the right thing. In terms of the facts of the incident, in terms of from Mr. Ventura's perspective, Your Honor presided over the trial. I'm not going to go into detail over that. But what I will just, I guess, affirm is that Mr. Ventura, with the right treatment and the right type of programming and his own personal commitment to prioritizing his health and his children, can be a contributing member to society. I do not believe that what the defense is asking for here in terms of no more than a year of additional incarceration followed by 1 to 2 years of extended supervision is out of the question in terms of just being able to balance all the factors that the court has to balance. The Department of Corrections recommendation was 4 years in, 4 years out. It doesn't specify whether concurrent or consecutive. Mr. Ventura, if we take into consideration the difficult time that he already has endured at Waupun Correctional Institution, in addition to the 3 days credit, that is roughly almost 2.5, a little bit more than 2.5 years. And with the time out on extended supervision, with the requirements that the court would put into place and programming that Mr. Ventura would be ordered to participate in, I do believe that that would not depreciate the gravity of the offense here. Your Honor, I do believe that Mr. Ventura has a statement that he would like to give the court as well.
Okay, Mr. Ventura, this is your opportunity to address me. If there's anything on your mind you'd like to say.
I would just like to apologize to the Randall's family. I can't imagine what it would be like. I do have 2 daughters of my own, and I couldn't imagine the pain that you've had to endure, and I'm sorry for what you went through. And all I can do is hope that you can begin to heal as best as you can. And from there, I got to do what I have to do to make myself better too now. And I know drugs. If I wasn't using drugs, I wouldn't have been there. And if I wasn't using drugs, I wouldn't have a lot of problems that I have in my life. And having spent 3 years now sober, over 3 years sober now, and where I spent it, I had a lot of time to reflect and think about where I'm headed and how I got here. And I've lost some things along the way. I've lost a brother along the way, and my kid's mother as well. And this incident is, I hate to be a part of it. I do. We're all from the same community. We're all Oneida. So I would like to apologize to my family too, because they have to carry the burden of this too. It's not just me or my cousins. They have to take it too. And so I apologize to you guys as well. And the only way I can just to keep this from something like this happening again is to remain sober and to stay focused and shift my priorities to what I can do to better myself and to make a life better for my children. and being sober, you know, to make it better for them, I have to be better for me. And I feel ashamed and disappointed because I should be the best version of me, and I haven't been, you know. And I made bad choices, and drugs was a big part of it. And to having been sober, you know, over 3 years now, it feels good, and I'm in a routine of things that I do, but I know I'm just waiting to put everything I've learned and what I've dealt with and what I think about into motion to make a better life for me and my children and my family. And like she said, I want to get into an apprenticeship. I want to be able to give my children everything I know before I leave this earth. My mom, she's older, and I can't repay her for any of the stuff she's done for me raising my children, but there's nothing I could do to ever pay that back, you know. And but what I could do is get myself together, so when she does leave, at least she can see me that I got it together before and be at peace with that. And that's all I have to say, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I need to consider the gravity of the offense, the character of the defendant, the need to protect the public, as well as other factors, including rehabilitative needs and punishment, and then craft a sentence in each case that's appropriate. There's a lot of things to consider in this case, and in this particular set of circumstances, I've had to say on 3 occasions now that I know that probably everybody in this room would like to see the court be able to deliver a kind of justice where the victim is restored to his family, and whatever issues that are being faced by Mr. Ventura, those are corrected, and he's restored to his family, and this court is just simply unable to deliver that kind of justice, and that's very sad for a lot of people. You know, when I consider the character of Mr. Ventura, I consider the words that he spoke to me here today. I consider the fact that he's now committed and admitted responsibility for these actions. He has family here, and I think that always speaks favorably to someone's character, because it means that they have people in this world who look at them and find things of worth that they want to come into court and say, I'm with him. And that's not easy to do. And so I think it speaks favorably of his character that he's got people that will do that for him, because not everybody who sits in the chair that he's sitting in has anybody who will be able to do, who are willing to do that. When I consider his prior record, you know, I take into account what's been told to me by both attorneys, frankly, that, well, generally speaking, the record isn't violent. And I get that. Violence means that there's been physical harm caused to another human being. But our community has paid a price for all of these offenses. And you know, you can run through these offenses and you can identify things that our community faces as a result of crimes like this being committed. And so I don't know that anybody gets a pass for simply saying, well, there hasn't been a whole lot of violence. Nonetheless, I consider his record for what it is. I certainly hear the statements that are being told to me by both sides, which is Mr. Ventura came into court at the trial, the one trial that we did have, and he testified, and that's no small thing. I don't know, but not that I'm here to sentence on any of this particular stuff, but I'm not convinced that we still have all the truth of what happened in this case. I'm not convinced of it. And the notion that there was so much drugs being used that no one can really know the truth, I'm not sure that I buy into that either. I'm really not. I'm not convinced that everything has come out regarding this, and I'm thinking that as a result of where things are now, that it probably never will. But I'm not here to point fingers at where all the blame lies for the fact that everything hasn't come out, and I'm not here to sentence Mr. Ventura for the fact that I don't think everything has come out in this case. I simply comment on that because I've addressed this case now on three occasions. I will say, we're here on two cases. There's two charges, I should say. Possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and harboring and aiding a felon. And sometimes I see these kinds of offenses and the results are not as serious. In this case, they were very serious. There's been loss of life. And again, Mr. Ventura isn't charged with that, but there's a participation in it, the possession of a firearm, the aiding of a felon, all those things in a certain way participated in what happened here today. And I remind people all the time that really I believe that no one is responsible for where they've come from, but everybody's responsible for where they're going. And your actions in life impact what happens to you. So Mr. Ventura is involved with this drug situation, and then there's been loss of life, and everybody feels bad, but different decisions need to be made, or you get drawn into situations like this. And now he's here to pay a price for that, really, for those decisions that he's made of possessing a firearm when he was a convicted felon and knew he shouldn't be possessing those firearms, aiding a felon, harboring a felon when he knew he shouldn't be doing that, using drugs. He's indicating, I seem to recall his testimony, was that the drugs impacted his ability to actually know what was going on, and now he's here. There's a price to be paid for that as well. All these decisions, while he's not responsible for where he's come from, he's responsible for the decisions that he's made up until now, and they've resulted in some terrible implications. I mentioned at the other sentencings in this case, everyone is entitled to an individualized sentence. They are. This isn't some cookie cutter approach where there's been an algorithm and then it's been given to the judge and the judge rubber stamps it and it's done. I've reviewed the PSI. I've reviewed the alternative PSI given to me by the defense. And those things have different recommendations for me. But I make the decision based upon what I think is appropriate, based upon how the community perceives what has gone on in this case. And I think, quite frankly, the community looks at this and they ask the court for protection from things like this. And I take the task of sentencing these cases very seriously. There are rehabilitative issues that Mr. Ventura has. And, there's a need for punishment. And I've heard and I've read, of the terrible circumstances that exist in the prison that he's been in. And that's very unfortunate. I don't run the prisons. I don't. But I'm not here either to weigh what an experience is like in prison and determine whether someone's experience in the prison has been so bad that maybe the court should go lighter on the sentence. I have to weigh what I have in front of me and make an appropriate sentence. Again, there's a need for punishment as well. I'm satisfied when I consider all the factors I'm required to consider. And I'll note, just for the sake of making the record, these counts, Class G felonies, are such that the maximum initial confinement would be 5 years, followed by 5 years of extended supervision. Meaning if I ran those consecutive, that would be 10 years in and 10 years out. Strike 10 years in, 10 years out. The recommendation that is being made is for 4 years of initial confinement followed by 4 extended supervision by the PSI. It doesn't say consecutive or concurrent. I think generally when they don't say anything, it's implied that it's concurrent, but there's no reference to that here. I'm satisfied when I consider all the factors I'm required to consider that I'm going to, on count 1, I'm going to impose the 4 years of initial confinement followed by 4 years of extended supervision. On count 2, 3.5 years of initial confinement followed by 4 years of extended supervision. Those are going to be consecutive, however. Satisfied that that's an appropriate sentence in this case. I'm going to require that he maintain absolute sobriety, compass evaluation, and follow through. No contact with any known users or dealers of illicit drugs, no contact with the co-defendants, submission to a DNA sample, and court costs. That's going to be the order of the court. Questions, clarifications from the state?
Is the court ordering the 153 days credit?
153 days credit. Anything from the defense?
Your Honor, what about his eligibility for the challenge incarceration and substance abuse?
I'll find that he's eligible for the programming.
Thank you.
Had no contact with the victims. I didn't mention that. No contact with them. All right, then with that, the matter is concluded. Thank you.
We're just making sure there's no panic. You guys want it, you can stay.